seems cold and bleak and you just can't take it anymore. Here it comes, that glimmer of hope, a light shines through the door. It's the hopeless show with Aaron and Rohit. Whoa, it's the hopeless show with Aaron and Rohit. Whoa.
Well, it is so fun to have Liz Glazer on The Hopeless Show. We need a lot of hope. Liz is an incredible comedian. I actually had the pleasure of seeing Liz at Comics Unleashed, the show that's on after Colbert, and she was so funny on the show. I think it's going to be on in October, so you got to check that out. And she's an award-winning stand-up comic. She has a comedy special streaming, and it's called Do You Know Who I'm Not?
You got it.
I got it right. And also she's a former law professor, which is wild. Comedian, law professor to comedian. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I love that we met in such a very Hollywood way. But also, I'm very glad to meet you, of course, and to be on the show. And yeah, that was super fun to do Comics Unleashed. I'm excited, of course, for that to come out, and then people can watch the special, which is, I'm very proud of it, and it's really good. So that's a lot of fun. And thank you for such a lovely introduction and for having me.
Yeah, well, I hope I keep being lovely with everything that you have going on. But I want to right now go back in time in your life, because the beginnings of Liz Glazer, before we get to the lawyer / comedian,
sure,
or lawyer turned comedian, where did you grow up, and what are the origins of your life turned to creativity?
Sure. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, right outside of New York City, because what is New Jersey if not in reference to what part of another state it is near? So I was born in New York City. We lived there for a year and a half, but the work opportunities for me in particular were better in New Jersey. So we moved it to Fort Lee when I was 1.5. And so we lived in like a building until I was like 7. And then we moved to another town also in New Jersey. I went to high school in New York City. I went to Jewish day school for grades 1 through 12. But the thing that jumps out at me from what you were saying, so this is the Hopeless podcast. And my very, very first memory is, in some ways, I think, really hopeful, but I could see a dark side to it too. So I think it may be an apt memory for you to chew on for this podcast and for your listeners. So I remember we were living at 555 North Avenue. This was many years ago. It's a building in Fort Lee, New Jersey. It looks out onto Route 46. So amazing views, obviously, some cheap gas and a motel in front of where I was looking. And I remember I was like looking out the window, and my mother, I was 4. My mother's like, what are you thinking about? And I said to her, Mommy, one day today will be a long time ago. And She was like, so she was like, I got to call my sister and brag about this. But the other thing was, first of all, that was like literally the moment that I became a conscious person, which is like an obsession of mine to think about like people's first memories. Like, what was the actual moment that you remember, like everything coming into view? And I think about it for my daughter too, because I have a 2-year-old. And so I'm like, I guess it could be any moment, theoretically, and like, what am I going to wear for my big debut and my daughter's memory and whatever. But anyway, side note, I do not remember what my mother was wearing, but I'm sure it was a lovely house dress. But I remember that moment. And in some ways, I think that all of my creativity can be summed up in a way from that moment because I am an obsessive documenter. I mean, I am like my daughter's paparazzi, like videos. Anytime she has a word that she says weird, and I'm like, this is not going to be the way she says the word bottle forever. She says babouche, which is far better. But I want to get it. I want to get it on film. I want to get it, for posterity forever. And just this idea of like, at any time, one day, today will be a long time ago, is something I think about. And also, side note, because I still commute into the city from New Jersey pretty regularly, I am on Route 46, not infrequently, we'll probably be there later tonight, looking at 555 North Avenue from the other side. And it is a long time ago. And I think about that moment all the time. So anyway, it is.
And are you preparing, like with your daughter, are you preparing for that moment, wondering, when is it going to be? When is it going to be? Which one is it going to be?
Yes. Well, it's become, it's just something I think about a lot. And, that just is. I mean, we can't plan and pick like what we love for ideas, I guess. But I've been thinking about it a lot, because as I'm thinking of like, comedians, we're always thinking of like the next hour, right? What is the next hour going to be about? I think of this thematically for that, because I like that story. I guess arguably there's some good like punchlines in there, if it was told as a story. But what I really love is my second ever memory, which is pretty close to that. And that one is a doozy because I was in a ballet class when I was 4. My mother, my mother was like, you're a little girl, you should be in ballet. And I was like, have we met? But fine. She puts me in ballet. There was a Haagen-Dazs on the first floor of the ballet studio. So she was like, listen, I'll give you ice cream if you go to ballet. And I was like, deal.
That's the easiest deal to take as a 4-year-old.
Exactly.
You're going to take that deal.
Sure, fine. But I wasn't like accumulating ballet knowledge or skills. I was just sort of like, okay, I'm here because the ice cream, let's not forget that. And so when it came time to the recital, which I had no idea there was going to be one for this ballet class, I was really nervous because I'm like, I don't know how to do ballet. Like I know how to stand in the corner waiting for ice cream. And I don't think that's compelling theater. And so anyway, then at first, like I was nervous because of that. Then I learned what we were supposed to do, which was just hold hands with the girl to your left and to your right and march around in one of 2 circles on the stage. And then I got really nervous because I'm like, that show is going to suck. Like my grandparents are in the audience. They're Holocaust survivors. They've been through enough. Like we don't want to put them through this god-awful production of Miss Alice's ballet class. And so the show starts, and obviously in my memory, this is literal Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course. So many people, everyone's bigger than you.
Right. And it's like a gym in Cliffside Park, New Jersey or something. But anyway, so I was like doing the thing, like just, holding hands, standing around. And then at some point, and this is like really the part that I start to remember, I break away from the circle. I stand in the middle of both circles of girls in my ballet class, and I'm in the middle and I'm looking out into the audience and I start hysterically crying. And because the lights were so bright.
I'm not laughing at the cry.
No, it's fine. Aaron, my God. I mean, first of all, if there were phones at that time, I would have been a viral TikTok star long ago. Right?
Yes.
But okay, so I'm crying and the lights from, the stage lights, it's MSG after all. I remember because the tears coupled with the bright lights started to hurt my face. And I was like, the tingling of the salty tears and the lights, started to be painful. And I remember that moment because that moment I was like, oh, I'm the star of the show right now. And I did what any good performer would do in that moment. And I cried harder because clearly that's what the show and the moment is calling for. And I didn't become a viral star. I just, whatever. I've like brought this up with my parents 40 years later, thinking they would find it funny because it is. And they were like, I didn't have to say too much. I was just like, remember the ballet? They're like, yes, we don't want to talk about that day. And I was like, so this was like their Holocaust, basically.
And it was your moment. And you thought,
yeah.
this is the beginning of my career.
Well, so a couple things on that. Like, yeah, kind of. I mean, it was also the moment for a long time. It was the moment that I pinned to like, I have stage fright and here's why, right? And that makes enough sense as a reading of that memory.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing, and this like, I've thought about this a lot because I've written about it, I've digested it, like I think about, I'm a creative writer essentially.
Right.
And so I've like processed this in a few different ways over the years. And one thought I had is like, well, that's really, in a way, my comedy origin story, because what I wanted to do in that moment, and I think the reason, like, what are tears if unexpressed frustration and anger and sadness? I wanted to just stand in front of the audience and be like, what are we doing here? Like, you came to see this? Like, why can't we all just go out for ice cream, which is why we're here to begin with, or at least me. And, can I get an amen on ice cream? Like, that's really what I wanted to do. And I think I think it is a strength, but it's also something that I love the most about doing comedy is the ability to just take in a moment and just call it out, right? And just be like, here's what's weird about whatever's happening, right? It could be in the news, it could be in the world, it could be just, you're doing comedy in a weird place. And so you call something out about that. It could be somebody makes coughs in a weird way or says something at a moment that's weird or something that happened earlier.
Observational comedy.
Yeah, totally. But like truly just calling that out directly and having that be the performance is, I think, what I desired in that moment and what that moment in 1983 didn't allow for because I was supposed to be dancing. And what everybody there was there to see, ostensibly, was dancing. What I wonder, because I only know, who are alive, my parents who were at that show, but like other people were there. Did they remember the kid who, me crying? Did they see the potential for a stand-up comedian in that moment? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I mean, how big, do you remember how big you went? Did you
I think
was your cry, the huge, like
right.
over the top cry?
Right.
Were you like, all right, this is where I'm going to test my chops?
Sure. That's so funny where it's like, you don't know anybody at this funeral. Like, what are you even heaving about? I don't remember that, but certainly, if I were to...
Don't know. I'm here for Sasha Grave. It's Sarah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like if I were directing that scene with like a child actor who was playing me, I think your instinct is the right one, is to like coach that person, or maybe their instincts would be that, or, to have that actor and the character go as hard as could be. Right.
Yeah.
I think that that's probably right. The truth is I don't remember that accurately. And also I don't know that I went probably as big as I could have.
So it wasn't your best performance.
Or was it?
Or was it?
Right?
Or maybe you peaked at 4.
It could have been. Yes. And I've just been trying to get to that level of authenticity meets compelling theater ever since.
And so as you went, in your after 4.
Yeah.
So, after that would be 5 and then 6,
right.
7.
Yeah.
What got you going toward performing at all? And performing, also being a lawyer is performing too. So before
yes.
but what got you going in the performing world? after
So
the 4-year-old moment?
yeah, I mean, there really wasn't that much performing, really. I think I always desired to perform, and I think for my friends, I was always performing. Like, my best friend to this day is my best friend from first grade, Shira Ackerman. She's amazing. And um, she will tell you, like, she's been performing her literal entire life in one way or another about me. But it wasn't like I was in plays. I wasn't, it wasn't that at all. And I wasn't the class clown. I was very obedient. I mean, I went through all of that school,
Yeah.
that I'm avoiding on a daily basis in one way or another. But like I did it, I think because I was raised to have a real respect for authority, for better or worse, that I think, served me well for the time that it did. And I think, there are positives to it being an entertainer and a creative too, because like I'm very easy to work with. You send me an email, you will get an email or a text back faster than the mailer demon. Like I respond to messages like there's a partner breathing down my neck, and that partner is my dad. But it's that type of kind of whatever. Like I think that there are advantages sort of as a working person getting things done, but I think there can be disadvantages in terms of like there's a moment when like a sort of irreverence and fearlessness could be better for some purposes. But wait, there was something else that you said
Well,
that
the idea of like perform, like lawyer. Yeah.
yeah, I was not a litigator, which surprises people because when you think lawyer, you think of Law and Order and trials. I was a sit at your desk lawyer doing transactions when I was a practicing lawyer. So I didn't have that element to my law practice, which was short. I only practiced really for 2 years, and then I went to teaching, but I always
What a
admired.
waste of school, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
the
I
amount
know.
of school
Huh?
to practicing, very bad ratio.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I had a job when I was a law professor, so it's not practice, but it is a kind of work, of course. But like, yeah, totally. I mean, not a good return on investment for sure. But I remember when I suppose it had to have dated back earlier. I always admired teachers. I mean, my mother's a retired teacher, and my mother is the funniest. I mean, just the best delivery on absolutely everything, including when she's 100% not setting you up for a joke. But like literal yesterday, I called her. I was like, "How are you?" She's like, "I've been the victim of fraud." And I'm like, what? And of course I jumped to action, and she's already at the bank. Thankfully, she's getting it resolved. It's going to be fine. But she is such a good actor, performer, and comedian. Like she's not playing the end of the scene before the end of the scene.
Right.
She is, I was like, are you, God forbid, in a ditch somewhere? Like, what are you saying? And then she's already getting it resolved. But I feel like, someone else who's perhaps less dramatically inclined would a little bit jump to, here's what happened. I'm okay. It's going to be fine. She doesn't have that. I've been the victim of fraud.
She's getting into the scene late and then
Totally.
getting out early. It's like, boom,
She's
let's get to
exactly
it.
100%. She's the dream to work with.
Yeah.
If she were being filmed. Because when she said she was the victim of fraud, I was like, oh my God, it's all over. Right? God forbid. But that's what I thought. And I was like 20 minutes from her house. I was going to meet her at the bank, but then she was done and she was already home. And, the PSE&G guy who was there yesterday, she tells him what happened because, of course, that's the story that she's running with for her open mic with the PSE&G guy who's there to fix a leak. The PSE&G guy is like, Toby, you got to go to the bank now. I'll come back at 9 a.m. Like that. That is more than you pay for worry-free from PSE&G for sure. But anyway, this guy is like a total saint. And then she fixed it and it's okay,
And everything was resolved, but you got a good story out of it.
I mean, she's living in the story. And if I called her right now, which I'll call her when I'm off with you, because I mean, I've said this before, but people sometimes are like, how often do you call your mother? Which I'm a Jewish girl. Like I have such mommy issues. And it's like the fact that I'm not currently on the phone with her is the notable detail. We are constantly in touch. There's never a phone call that isn't 5 follow-up phone calls. Something like, I found it. He's not actually dead. Like just follow up after follow up after follow up. And so, but anyway, all of this to say that I've been watching and admiring, honestly, I think probably women performers for as long as I've been watching my own mother hold court.
Right.
But I remember in college, there was this professor. Her name is Heidi Hurd. She's amazing. And she was a law professor, but she was teaching a college class, and I was in it. It was a philosophy of law class I took as an undergrad. And it was a great class, really interesting material, whatever. But she was just breathtakingly captivating. And, sort of like an Oprah type presence, and really funny, but also smart and like so interesting. And I just loved everything about her. And I was her research assistant for a couple of years. And she, wrote me a recommendation to teach, which I eventually did. But I remember I was like, that's whatever that is, right? That's what I want to be and do. And I think that all of the law professoring, lawyering, it's not that it was like the most wrong thing for me. It was just kind of like a shade off from the one that I actually was trying to get to, which is just talking about myself on stage and doing like personal stories.
And with as a lawyer, you have to talk about someone else, which is so annoying.
Right. It's so boring. Yeah.
They're not as interesting as you, so come on.
Right.
And what did they do? A crime? I mean, come on.
Totally. What's interesting too is like I've been in therapy for many, many years. I think we're pushing 19 with the love of my life, aka my therapist.
Congratulations.
And
do you get like it's like AA? Do you get
what do you get her? Yeah, totally.
Like you get your chip.
Yeah. Right.
19-year therapy chip.
Correct. Yeah. That's so funny. So anyway, but we've been at it for a long time. And somebody was asking me recently, like, oh, what do you think do you worry what your therapist thinks of you? And it was interesting because I was like, I don't, but I totally get what you mean, because at the beginning of therapy, I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm boring. I want to be funny enough. I want her to find me interesting. I hope I'm one of her favorites, like all of those thoughts. But then I don't know, maybe like year 10 through 15, I just like let that go. And now I like find myself, I mean, it's kind of mean, but I find myself like looking at the waiting room and like, I'll see a person on the way in, I'll see a person on the way out. And I'm just like, thank God for me, because, I don't know what these losers have going on, but it's not all this. And of course I'm wrong, but it is a thought that I have. And so I was just thinking about that, because you were saying about clients and how boring it is to have to talk about law or talk about them when I could just be going on about me.
Well, my mom is a therapist.
Oh.
And so I've grown up hearing the different stories. And then I actually there was a thing I did for Warner Brothers that didn't go, shocker, some things don't go, called the Waiting Room Club. And it was all about a therapist's waiting room.
Oh,
and so what you're saying makes me laugh extra, because I'm thinking it's the waiting room is almost more interesting than the actual therapy.
I hear that.
Because
wow.
who's judging who and all that.
I would have loved to watch that.
Me too. and then they liked it, but then it was one of those, you're developing and it doesn't quite happen. But I drew on my mom's,
of course,
the stories that she got.
Sure.
But back to you, because you're more interesting. Is another thing about you that is unique is you have a bunch of things going against you in current 2025 America.
Okay, sure.
I can relate to 2 of the 3.
Okay. Jew.
You're Jew.
Mhm.
You're in this case, your wife. For me, my grandfather was a rabbi.
Yes. Yes.
So that's two tough things, and gay. So
Yeah.
that's like a threefer.
Yeah.
How in current how do you draw from it? Because there's a lot to
Yeah.
draw from, and how do you deal with the fact that being a Jew right now,
Hmm.
rabbi,
Right.
all of these things are
Yeah, I
things.
mean, so here's something that is just about me, I guess, but like I really believe in God.
I
I
know.
can't help it. I just do. And I never, it's never like I don't care if other people do or don't or whatever that is, but like it's like I really think of it almost as like the way that I know I'm gay is like I just knew because I knew. And that's a little bit how I feel about my belief in God. And I feel very thankful for it because I think that it's sort of, in a way, an easier life if one does
Mhm.
believe. But also, and part of the reason I'm never into like, I'm not trying to convince literally any other person about it because I'm like, I don't know why. I just do. And I also find it just gross and like it turns me off when people who are talking about mystical stuff of any kind, anything woo woo, and then there's this whole like proof about why it's correct. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you'll like read like something about crystals or something about whatever. And it's like, then there's the part of it where the person's like doing geometry to convince you that this crazy thing that's completely magical is true. And I'm like, stay in your lane. Like, I don't need the proof. Like, if I wanted the proof, I would just go into that stuff, but I don't need you trying to play like, well, I tested God in my chemistry lab. I'm like, that's not a thing.
Yeah, you're not
So
here with
anyway,
tarot cards. It's not like, oh, that's your
right,
thing. You've got your thing, and then
right,
that's the other thing.
right. And it's like if I'm into tarot cards, then I'm into tarot cards. And it's just like I don't need you to, give me this whole long boring thing about how it's correct. I find that just like ugh.
Believing in something,
So, yeah. So
and
basically,
and extremism right now to me is when someone's trying to make you think their thing. And I think extremism is a huge problem right now. It makes me feel hopeless. So what you're saying is screw all that.
yeah.
Here's
Well, right. Okay. So I do say screw all that because I just mean the caveat about my belief in God, which is that I do, and I find that it's sort of this lucky thing that I do. And I was saying that as an entry point to telling you about
it was
wait.
it was what you're um you've got rabbi wife,
Oh yeah.
you're a Jew,
Yeah.
and you're gay,
So
and right now 2025, lots
thank
of
you.
things.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And sorry about that. So I really do believe that I, was born at the right time, that everything that's happening to me is like in some sort of divine order and all of that. And again, that's the thing is like I just believe that, and that is a very hopeful and convenient belief because it it is like because then I don't have to be so worried all the time about the opposite of that being true. And I mean, I say this more as like a novelty weird thing, but I've since 2017 I have this thing where I find fortunes like from fortune cookies on the ground
Huh.
all the time. I have like over 250 that I've
Do you
found.
always find?
Yeah. Last, I forget the day, but like not quite a week ago, I found five.
Let's call it Tuesday.
Ha! Yeah, exactly. And for me, that is just a Tuesday. No, I had never found five in a row like before, but it was wild. But anyway, so, and I always like perceive that they're this kind of message from God or whatever it is. I'm just like, did Moses feel this way too? Like, because in a way, all of these like alleged prophets were receiving words that they, determined were from God.
Right.
And I'm not
Oh, interesting.
right. And I'm just like, well, did Moses wonder if God was gonna write him again? Like, I don't know, because every time I find a fortune, I'm always like, okay, well, I guess this is like what I need, to be thinking about. This is the current call of the day, the thing to keep in mind. And then, I always wonder, like, what if I don't get another one? You know what I mean? And
I mean, you're 250 for
yeah,
250. That's a pretty
we're pretty
good.
deep.
Yeah,
We're deep.
you're doing well.
Right. And of course, then the other thing, because I'm such a lawyer and an academic, so I'm always like, then somebody's going to say, oh, well, you're primed for noticing them. So that's why you notice them. Yeah, sure. I believe it. Like, I have no idea. I don't know where they come from. But what I usually will say back to that, because I'm also a lawyer and annoying in this way, is like, I'm like, well, but you now have been primed. So every time I've told someone this, they should find a fortune right away if what you're saying is true. And
I'm looking tonight.
yeah. Well, and also I'm so happy when people do. It happens because I've talked about this, to however many people. And so, I have gotten texts where somebody's like, oh, I found this like on the subway steps or whatever it is. And I'm delighted always. But anyway, because none of this is like, it's only about me. Like, I'm not like that. And I don't have that belief, but all of it to say that with respect to being gay, being the wife of a rabbi, being Jewish in this time, I believe that there's something about my existence that's supposed to be alive in this time. Like, what I used to think and say is that my grandparents hid so I don't have to, because I have 4 out of 4 Holocaust survivor grandparents and they all survived by hiding in one way or another.
I like that.
And yeah,
Not the Holocaust and the hiding
well,
part, but I like the
yeah. No,
point you're
but the
saying.
right, the survival piece and the sort of living out loud piece. But then it's like I would be lying if I thought that that piece of advice is exactly without any amendments what I would tell to someone living Jewish today, right? Like if I were on the subway, do I wear my Jewish star necklace? I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. Like, I think about it. I think about it a
Yeah.
lot. Like, I have a very deep respect for people who are so out loud Jewish, like so much. And also, there is a part of me that's like, okay, is it respecting my heritage, though, to forget that we survived by hiding? Like, I used to think it was about not hiding. And
Hmm.
now I wonder because I'm like, well, what would my grandparents tell me to do if they were here right now? I don't know that it would be you should wear, a Jewish star head to toe. I don't think that they would. And not that their advice is determinative, because that's not the case, but it's just, I guess, like, all I mean to say by this is like, it's a more complicated answer when the time is more specifically one where you could arguably be a target.
And that, you bring up something that I think about a lot,
Yeah.
as well. Having
Hmm.
made films that have
Yeah.
Jewish themes, and my grandfather being a big time LA rabbi, and
Yeah.
this whole like target on our back,
Yeah.
which I never really thought would happen to the
Right.
degree that it's happened. And
Yeah.
it's coming at us from a lot
Yep.
of sides. So it's
Right.
not just not putting blame on any one thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Totally.
places. So it's a question of how loud do you want to be? I choose to be very loud. I'm only 1 out of 4. I'm not 4
Yeah.
out of 4 with the
Sure.
Holocaust survivor thing.
Yeah.
So, I had 3 who didn't hide and then one
Yeah.
who got out actually as a young kid.
Right.
So it's really an interesting I
It
haven't thought of it
is.
that way.
Yeah, totally. And like in some ways I am loud, and then in other ways I'm not as loud. And again, like it's just a continuous question I have, when I'm on the bus. Like literally,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean it at such the very ground level of things. And or what would I advise my child? Like I'm just, I mean, what is more Jewish than trying to be safe and be worried about being safe?
You
And
tell
I
your
guess,
child wear a cross.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I just mean it to be honest about the fact that like the ways in which I'm not sure and the ways that, um, I mean, yeah, I'm not, I don't know that I'm like correct. I'm just,
We're
that's
trying
what,
to do our best
of
day to day.
course.
And
Yeah,
uh and so going, I mean, I think we solved the Jewish problem, so now we're all good. Everyone's going to
sure.
be fine and safe now.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
really interested in the transition from law to comedy because
Hmm.
so many people work their asses off to get
Hmm.
anywhere in comedy without
Right.
ever doing law and
Yes.
never get anywhere.
Hmm.
I've seen you be you're incredibly talented.
Thank
It's
you.
still a big leap of faith to
Yeah.
leave one career to go to the other career.
Hmm.
How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was a lot of delusion at that time of
Mhm.
the switch, and really it it worked because like someone was like, you should do this. I first said no, eventually said yes, eventually did it. Comedy, just like performed stand up. I felt this absolute like electric rush. Part of that was like the laughs, I guess, but I think even beyond that and deeper than that, it was the freedom that all I needed to say was the truth. And not that I was lying before, like when I was teaching property. But, and of course, not that comedy is only about the truth, because of course there's also the punchline or, the laughs or whatever. So I'm not saying either of those things. I'm not saying I was lying as a professor. I'm not saying that comedy isn't also about laughs. But the thing I mean by all I had to be was honest and truthful is that I was able to just go with like, here's just the stuff that I've thought and that's happened to me and the thing I want to call out about this moment, and I can make you laugh
And
by
and
yeah,
by your truth. I also love
right.
the idea of the lying professor. I just think that's a
Ah,
funny concept.
yeah,
But your
totally.
truth and you telling it and it
Right.
works.
And it doesn't have to be on the bar exam, and it doesn't have to be part of the, uniform rules of property law in New York State or anything like that. Like that's what I mean about that, in other situations, like giving a presentation about a topic, you need to, like when I was teaching property law, I needed to cover certain stuff because it was on the test and because any law school that's worth their salt is teaching these things.
Right.
And sure, I could fit in a funny story that made the material come alive, maybe would help people like really internalize it, remember it better. And I did a lot of that when I was teaching, but it was that part that got me like really psyched when I was teaching. And comedy was only that part. I only needed to tell the funny story about my dad. I didn't need to then draw the analogy between that and the estates and land system, right?
So how would you like what's one that you remember
Well, I mean,
about
literally that. And I think I did a part of this story on the taping of Comics Unleashed.
you
Like,
did, you
not
hinted at it, or you did a
Yeah,
piece of it.
exactly. Right. And so yeah, the second episode,
Hmm.
um, because basically there's this system of property law that's like the most difficult in a technical sense and the most boring. And
Hmm.
it's this rite of passage for first year law students from time immemorial that you need to like learn all these like crazy terms. Like if you've ever read a deed, like a deed for a building, it's like you're reading it and you're like, what the hell is a fee simple and a fee tail and like all these words?
I'm
And the
dyslexic.
reason is
Reading it is impossible. I'm just
it's
like
impossible.
words,
It's
words,
not
words, words, and yeah.
right. But the reason that it's those words that are impossible to read is because land is older than any of us. And when you're conveying land from A to B, what you want to be sure more than anything is that you're conveying this piece, not
Hmm.
that piece. And the only way to be really sure of that is you use the same words that were used to convey it before words had any meaning that is anything like what now they mean. And nobody wants to veer from those words because then how are we sure that the thing that it was and that it was written about in 17 whatever is now different in 2025? Oh, well maybe I don't own it, right? And maybe it's different. So anyway, so we still have to know all these words, right? And
I'm just
it's
thinking of how bad I'd be at this. But yeah,
oh, yeah, it's horrible. I got a C in property when I was in law school. And then I had to teach the class. And so part of the reason that I thought of this analogy to my dad was that I needed to learn it. And I knew how hard it was because it was so hard for me. So I was like, how am I going to make this like actually, like, how am I going to convince them that they need to know it? And so the analogy that I came up with was my dad, who was a Latvian immigrant. He was from Riga. I mean, he had the thickest accent you've ever heard in your life. He was in America for 46 years up to he died 5 years ago. But the up to the day he died, which was in this country for longer than he had ever been in Latvia, for 46 years of his 73 total, he sounded like he arrived earlier that morning. Okay, his entire life. Like that was his accent. Okay. So anyway, and he learned English, but he really loved to be like, "Я не понимаю," like just so like I don't understand what you're talking about because he was like a stubborn guy. And I feel like if you couple that with being in a different country and you're like, I want to stay this way, then you can. And all of your friends are also Russian speaking, and that's fine. The times that it was challenging
hmm.
or when my family would go to a restaurant. My dad, of course, would read the menu and then be like, I don't know, what is this? And it's like, okay. And so then he would be like, I want the grilled chicken that he would say to the waiter. And like, we're at a Chinese restaurant. We're like, they don't have grilled chicken. Like, what are we doing? And then my mother and my brother and I would have to broker this deal between my father and the server because, and we're like, we're so sorry. He doesn't really understand. And, like he's kind of weird and we get it, but sorry. And then, they would make him grilled chicken at a Chinese restaurant because he was very convincing. But like, meaning that the system of the estates and land was similar to my dad. Like, my dad would be the wrong one, right? Because he's trying to order off of the menu, but the things on the menu are the only things that you actually can get. Although, because, it's law school, so everything is gray and that's all you learn as a lawyer, the fact is that people did get the metaphorical equivalent of grilled chicken in a Chinese restaurant because that's the reason we're reading the case at all. And so, yes, it's true that you have to play by the rules and only order off the menu, which really is on the menu. But, the
You almost make me want to practice law now, just
wow.
because of, I mean, I actually understood what you just
Oh, yeah.
said, so
Look
I
at
actually
that.
get it. I just got something about
Yeah.
law, so I commend it, and it's really
Oh,
funny.
sure. Happy
And
for that.
yeah, no, now
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, we
gonna
didn't
change
even get
careers.
in that what? What'd you
Now I'm
say?
gonna change careers.
Ha,
Um,
totally. That would be funny if my side effect of having me on your podcast is you may become a lawyer.
yeah, exactly. That's I like that. That gives me hope.
Yeah. Oh,
Easier,
good.
different type of career. So
Sure.
there's a couple things that we do on this show before we wrap up
Yes.
that
Okay.
that we're gonna try together. The first
Okay.
one is I'm gonna give you something that is hopeless, potentially hopeless about you, and
Okay.
you're gonna tell me the hope.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
when you have a joke,
Yeah.
which I've never actually seen happen for you, but when you have a joke that doesn't land,
Yeah.
what do you do with that?
I mean, it depends. It
Because I'm
depends.
guessing it feels a little like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's not ideal. I think that it depends on the situation. There are times, I mean, I feel like I've been hearing like on podcasts and stuff like people get so one way or the other about like you can't blame the crowd. And I agree with that. And I have a friend who's like a big comedy fan, and this is like an obsession, I feel like, of hers, that she's like, I went to a comedy club and this guy was like shitting on the crowd and like it's so not that. And I get that. And of course, like if it's like become the performance, then like no, that's not the way.
Bad.
That said, I have a couple of jokes that I love to do when a crowd is something that strikes me as bad, which is really just that they're not laughing when I want them to.
Hmm.
And that is and it, I only wrote this out of necessity, but basically I was like, "Oh, so you guys are a bad crowd. Good news. You know what I love? A bad crowd." Because I hate a great crowd because I don't know if you know this, but comedians on a show, when we're off stage, all we're doing is gossiping about you. Okay, that's 100%. We go backstage. Oh, they were a good crowd there. Not that anyone said that about you, but theoretically, they could have said you were a good crowd, and that usually gets a laugh to tell them, like, well, in theory, you could be good, but you're not. Don't make the mistake of thinking anybody said you were good, because let me tell you something that never came up is that you were good. That did not happen. And then basically, so then I'll get laughs about that. And then the turn of the joke, as it is a written joke, and it wasn't initially, it was just something I said that then became something bigger, is that basically when comedians say they're a great crowd, I hate that, because if a comedian says to me, they're a great crowd, you know what I think? We're going to see about that. Because
Yeah.
every great crowd is just one bad set, probably mine, from being a terrible crowd. But the good news, and this is the great thing about you, is that you are a terrible crowd. And you know what makes you great? That you're terrible. And so it's like a fun thing to do, that again, it was just like, and I don't pull that whole thing out if something doesn't hit that they're not even going to notice was like not supposed to hit. And I don't do a blaming or whatever. The truth is, I think because my first memory was like literal crying out loud and like arguably
Yeah.
bombing, it doesn't I don't think like affect me in the way that it affects, I think, some people. It's hard for me to know. I'm not anybody else. I'm only me. I only know my experience. But just like from conversations sometimes with other comedians, the way that they seem to hang their self-esteem and their self-worth on like the how they did in a set is interesting to me. I mean, that
Mm.
said, cut to later tonight and I'm like, oh my God. But, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, the idea, usually if I walk into a comedy club to do something, I'm not trying to like do amazing, because I don't know, I came at this too late. I've been in too much therapy. I have too good an acting coach to think of it as that. What I think of is like, well, what am I here to do? Did I get that done? Right? Like, I'm here to finish that, assuming that there's more to that, you're a terrible crowd bit, right? Maybe the point of the night is that. And I journal every day, so I like am constantly assessing my experiences for like, what did I learn? How did I grow? And like, it's kind of eye rolly, but like the thing
It,
about those practices is they get in your head, and then you're like, okay, well, here's why everything was like worthwhile tonight.
it was an experience. It was a learning
Yeah.
experience no matter what.
Right. So I just am not, I'm not, again, I mean, sometimes it is for worse. It's not always for better, that I'm just like, okay, like moving on. You
Because
know
it
what I mean?
is, and it is a like like at the Comedy Store, which I've been to a
Hmm.
lot, and that hallway
Yeah,
where you're just hanging,
been
and
there.
the amount of it's like gossip, it's like high school, it's like gossip
Yes,
central. And if you
totally.
start getting that in your head of what different people are saying all the time,
Right.
you'll lose your mind. So you
A
just have to
hundred percent.
come in
And
and do
again,
it.
right. My intention is not to, suggest that I'm like above anything or that, but I do think that the daily practices and the therapy or whatever, just like kind of trying to get to a point as a person where I can confidently exist independent to some degree of the opinions of others. That's really, and again, I mean, I feel compelled to reiterate that like I'm not perfect at it. I'm not suggesting that I'm perfect at it, but like, yeah, I don't think I like get it to that degree. Like whenever I have a lot of comedian friends and a lot of them derive like a great part of their material, it seems, from like comments on the internet, and I'm like, you read that? Like
Oh
someone
yeah,
told me not to, and I believed them. That's it.
that's
Like
the end. And her
that's
name,
the
and it was
end.
your therapist. No, it was.
But I again, and it's not like I don't ever see it. Sometimes people will tell me about them or whatever it is, but I'm like, first of all, I have these like kind of internal games that I play where I either gain or lose points. And I don't like add them up. Like I feel like Dimitri Martin, I read something one time that he like adds, he has some sort of adding thing. I have no accounting in my business, but I'm playing games for points that I don't know how many I have or what they mean or whatever. So like an example that's like very grounded, I'm looking at my laundry. I have a pile of laundry right here. Okay. It's
Oh,
all
good.
glamour here. But if I like let's say I pulled a pair of pants to wear from the pile of laundry, extra points because I didn't need to take it out of the pile, fold it, put it in the drawer. I just went straight to wearing it,
That's like
gaining.
finding your 251st fortune.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Right. And so it's stuff like that I'm like gaining points. And one that is a total loss of points
Mhm.
is if you talk about the internet in real life. If I have to hear in a conversation, this is how many likes I got, this is what somebody commented,
Oh,
nope, I don't care.
no,
I just
no.
don't care. I don't care. Even if it's vulnerable, even if it's like this person hated it, I didn't get likes, this video bombed. I'm like, the internet is not real. Like
No.
it's real, but like I'm right in front of you. Why are we talking about this? Like and so, I'm sure I've hindered my own ascent to whatever extent it might be because of a resistance to some of this stuff. Because maybe if I played that game a little more heavily, I would have more followers or something like that. But to be honest, I don't care because if I am living my life for the posting of living my life, then I am not living my life to begin with. And so, back to my very first memory, and this is sort of the darker side, if one applies that thinking of one day today will be a long time ago to I'm living my life for the moment of posting about my life, no, because this was something I thought in 1983. It was a lo-fi 4-year old thought about thoughts and memories and awareness, not about taking the present moment and infiltrating it with thoughts of the future and how the future affects the present moment. And so I just like
It's
I
really
don't
interesting. That's
I
really
guess
it's a really interesting way to think about it. And we're right now not living in the present enough. I mean, most people,
right.
it's so hard to be.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard.
And then
Yeah.
it's also hard to, then we'll do our last thing, but it's
Hmm.
really hard to know when to say something, when not to say something. It's
Hmm.
something I feel hopeless about is how do you know when to talk about something, when
Totally.
you're in the present, when not to. I
Right.
have some friends who are like, oh, we don't want to talk about anything serious. We just want to talk about
Sure.
sports. So then how do you do that? How do you
Right.
not pay attention to the internet too much, not pay attention to social
Yeah.
media too much, but also
Sure.
know what the hell's going on?
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't know that I have the answer to that. I am
Damn it.
sure that I don't. But yeah, I mean, those are just like the kind of internal games because I think about like, oh, I should post more. And I agree that I should post more sometimes. But then I'm like, as long as I can create a model that's sustainable without infiltrating like what I don't want to post about and the way that I don't want to live my life. I don't want to live life with my daughter. First of all, I won't put my daughter on the internet, but I don't want to live my life with her thinking about like, okay, well, this is for the telling of the story, or this is for, the posting of this, or I just don't want that.
Yeah, so many
It's so
people
fun.
use their kids as
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like a draw, which,
yeah.
good for them, but
Sure.
also,
Kids
I
are cute.
mean, kids are
Right.
cute. So it's like a draw to get likes, like you were
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah. Right.
And so then the last thing we do, which is going to
Hmm.
take a total of 2 minutes,
Hmm.
is our section Hope in 60 Seconds.
Okay.
Because right now you've given, I think, a lot of hope, including
Thank you.
um, a lot of topics. But this is you're going to react
Hmm.
to something I'm going to say that I feel hopeless about that's
Okay.
going on. And
Okay.
then, so literally about being in the moment, just like we were talking about,
Yeah.
and you have less than, you have, I'll try to do it quick, and then you have less than
Okay.
60 seconds to answer it.
Okay.
So are you ready? Are you game?
Yeah.
All right. So the first one is ready. In England right now, they are going to be doing digital IDs.
Hmm.
So you're going to have your digital ID. I'm terrified of having that happen anywhere and then my phone dying.
Hmm.
So what would you do? What do you think about a digital ID?
I think you're going to be okay. I think you can always charge your phone. And if you can't charge your phone right away, I have faith in you that you will travel with a charger. And if there's a blackout and it's a problem for everybody, it's a problem for everybody. There's a force majeure clause in contracts for a reason. And so the very worst it could get is when it's a problem for literally everybody and you're going to be okay. And sorry, one more thing, okay?
Yes.
As much as everybody is worried that we're not unique and all that, the thing that endures is face recognition technology, because something about the way we're created, our faces are different enough that face recognition isn't going away because God exists, just saying. But I'm just saying you are recognizable just by your face, no matter what the digital imprint is, no matter what.
I feel hope. Boom, you did it. That was I feel double hope because
Okay,
face
good.
recognition and everyone being miserable with me. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the last one
Mm-hmm.
is damn Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do about it? Because it's the only, I have Crohn's disease. It's the only thing I can take. Right now, a lot of people are saying it's the worst thing. I don't agree with them, but
Right.
how do we give hope to Tylenol?
Okay. Well, I mean, my doctor, who is very aggressive, very conservative, politically as well, uh, suggests doing a Tylenol and an Advil every 3 to 6 hour thing, whatever that is, whenever you feel intense pain. Um, I, I'm, the Crohn's disease, I don't know, you
Yeah.
know, but I do think that you're going to be okay because I don't think it's that bad. Do I know? No, I don't know. But I think that it's like they've said a ton of crazy things, the
Yeah.
people who are saying the Tylenol things. So if the people who said the crazy things are also the people saying the Tylenol things, I think we're okay.
Phew.
It's, you know what? Probably. They probably work for Advil. They probably work for Motrin. It's an ibuprofen
hmm
conspiracy theory.
I conspiracy theories a lot of the times I'm not into. That one I agree.
Yeah, sure.
I agree that they're getting
They're just on the other side.
they're
Right.
getting some Advil crypto,
Yeah, something like that.
something like that. Well, thank you. I feel double hope. And Liz, this
Thank you,
was
Aaron.
so fun to have
It
you
really
on.
was. Thank you.
And
I'm sorry for moving to this pristine location of my unmade bed for part two of the podcast, but there's just not another space. But this was truly lovely. You are absolutely fantastic. I'm so, so happy that we met.
And
Truly.
I'm hoping we'll do more. And
Yeah,
and
same,
until
anytime.
and until then,
Yes.
we need to shamelessly plug.
Yeah,
So where can
totally.
people see your special
Yeah.
and you on? I mean, we talked about Comics Unleashed, but
Yep.
everything you want people to
Yeah.
know about Liz
Of
Glazer.
course. Thank you. So you can go to my website, dearlizglazer.com. I have a full special with material that I don't do anymore. So if you see me on the road, I won't be doing that material. But you can watch the special. It's called Do You Know Who I'm Not? It's streaming for free on YouTube. Please watch it. And then I have tour dates that are on my website. I'm headlining New York Comedy Festival if there are any New York
Amazing.
listeners. So it's on the Upper West Side. You don't even have to pay congestion pricing to get there because it's above 60th. It's on 75th and Columbus
Yeah,
and at West Side Comedy Club, which is fantastic. And that'll be November 13 at 7 p.m. Eastern as part of New York Comedy Festival. And I'm very excited.
that's. Oh, and last thing, the thing that we talked again. What's your your handle so people can follow
Oh,
you on
yeah.
social?
I'm at Liz Glazer everywhere.
Boom. That's that, and just yeah, go. Her website's actually really cool because it
Thank
tells
you.
different stories and stuff as well. So,
Thank
Liz,
you.
thank you so much for being
Thanks,
on,
Aaron.
and
Yes.
I can't wait to see what's next for you because you're really funny.
Thanks. You're great. Thank you.
We're both fantastic.
Yeah.
When the world seems cold and bleak and you just can't take it anymore, here it comes, that glimmer of hope. A light shines through the door. It's a hopeless soul with Aaron